So we see 5G as being very much an evolution of the technologies that you see today, taking that further forward. I think previous generations have been very much a radical step change from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G. We see more of an evolution from 4G towards 5G going forwards. We're starting to demonstrate on our stand today some of the steps we expect to see on the route towards 5G. So things like carrier aggregation. We've got a demonstration of full duplex, and we're also working with Ericsson to show some of the indoor coverage solutions that you might experience in the future as well. So at the moment with the technology, all the technologies today are either in two flavors. They're FDD, which means we transmit on one frequency and receive on a different frequency, or they're TDD, which means you transmit on one frequency for a period of time and then receive on the same frequency for a different period of time. With full duplex, what you're able to do is transmit and receive simultaneously on the same frequency at the same time. So it's a bit like shouting very loudly and listening at the same time.
So Telefonica has been one of the carriers that's been very supportive of the Kumu full duplex and the Kumu cancellation. We actually did a cancellation technology trial with Telefonica last fall, and obviously they were very impressed with the results, and they invited us to present some of our new stuff on their booth. Radios traditionally use two frequencies for transmit and receive, but Kumu's self-interference cancellation technology actually allows a radio to transmit and receive simultaneously on the same channel. The way we enable this is by completely silencing the radio's own transmission into its own receiver, such that when a radio is transmitting, it can't hear itself and can listen to another radio simultaneously, even when it is itself transmitting. The cancellation technology that we've developed is completely independent of the radio and the modem. It's purely a bolt-on to the front end of any radio, and the cancellation allows that radio to essentially become full duplex, even if the radio originally was half duplex.
Still quite revolutionary and something that's just starting to appear, but we see that as being one of the technologies that we might see on 5G to really help us improve the overall spectrum efficiency of 5G, effectively doubling the capacity of the networks. I think one of the key things we'll see with 5G is, as we're starting to see with 4G already, is a large allocations of spectrum, but quite fragmented spectrum. And one of the key things will be how we stitch those bits of spectrum together to offer customers the best experience. And that's what we're seeing with LTE now, with LTE-Advanced and carrier aggregation, being able to use multiple smaller allocations of spectrum, stitch them together to give a much higher speed and a better customer experience overall. There's a lot of movement in the industry for a thing called LTE-U or LAA, they call it. And that's being able to use some of the unlicensed spectrum and aggregate that with licensed spectrum. We see some of the challenges about how we make sure the customer experience is good enough on the unlicensed spectrum in two ways. First of all, we don't want to reduce the experience for Wi-Fi customers, so that's key. But also we need to make sure that spectrum is used in a way that offers a good enough customer experience for our own users. And I think that's, as operators, something we can do to try and guarantee that the experience that customers get from the unlicensed spectrum is better than they would experience on the Wi-Fi. And we can use all of the way we allocate resources in the radio network, the quality of experience mechanism and so on. We can bring that to bear on the unlicensed spectrum in the same way we can do with standard licensed spectrum today. Telefonica's role is to be part of the whole ecosystem. As operators, we need to be very clear on setting the requirements for 5G. Just to be honest, we're not going to develop all the technologies. Some of the major infrastructure vendors in the industry is going to develop those sort of technologies and bring them together. But we need to be very clear on what we want, be the customer champion in all this really, and try and make sure that we move the whole industry forwards in a direction that's going to bring benefit to the customer in terms of 5G. Yeah.